What's going on, guys? So as many of you know, I'm working on a record, and if you don't know, this is me telling you. I'm currently working on my second project right now, working on a full album. But today, I want to show y'all behind the scenes look of me comping my own vocals. So we're going to go over how I edit vocals, how I tune my vocals, and how I get them all polished up for the mixing phase. So what I've just done today is I just recorded my lead vocals for the first half of this song. And what I've done so far is I've comped the vocals. So what comping is when you go through and record a verse over and over and over again. Once you're done recording a verse over and over again, you have all these compilation tracks, and you can just go through and pick which notes, best fit the verse of the song. So let's say the first half of the song, I'm flat on take 6, but I go to take 4 and I like take 4. I'll keep take 4. And then let's say I'm flat on take 2. Instead of, keeping take 2. If take 2 and take 3 don't work, I'll go with take 1 and so on. So that's what we have right here. So I've recorded my whole entire take right here on this track right here. So what I like to do is I like to keep this track right here, and I like to make a copy of this track and start editing that way. So I'm going to hold down Option, and then I'm just going to drag this whole entire track down. I'm going to mute this one, and now I'm going to flatten and merge. I've already selected the whole entire performance that I want to keep, so all of this is good. I'm okay with. I've approved it already, so I'm going to flatten and merge it. So boom, it creates the whole entire comp right there. I think down here I got like some dead space that I'm not using. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clean up the vocals right now. I'm going to delete the dead space, so I'm going to solo it. All right, so cleaning up vocals looks like this. Basically, anytime I'm not saying anything, anytime I'm not breathing, I'm going to cut out that dead space. So I'm going to catch your breath. Chop that out.
He sits high above the earth.
I don't need to keep that right there.
We're
going to keep that breath right there.
Exalted above all the nations.
Take out the dead space right there.
God.
So we're cleaning up the dead space just so it sounds much more clean.
God who made heaven and earth. There is.
If you hear right there, I accidentally hit the mic. That's bad. But we're going to take that out. You see, this is why it's important to take your time and clean up vocals.
There is no one like you.
So these vocals right now, super raw. There's nothing on them. No EQ, no reverb, nothing. No tuning, nothing. So I sound good and terrible right now. But watch when we finish. So we got a little bit of bleed from the headphones. Again, clean up your vocals.
Exalted.
It's my thoughts that engineers shouldn't have to go through and do this for you.
God.
When your song gets ready to get mixed, your engineer should not have to do none of this. All they should have to focus on is mixing.
God who made.
Take care of your engineers and do this stuff. They'll appreciate you.
There is no.
All right, now what we're going to do is, let me clean up these ones right here. So I did like a vocal stack right here of harmony.
God who made God.
I kind of like that deep breath right there, so I'm going to keep that.
God who made heaven and earth.
Again, we are super flat right now, but just watch. Just trust the process. Just trust the process. I promise you want to stay till the end. Trust the process. So let's say I mess up really bad with these compilations that I'm doing down here with tuning and stuff like that. That's why I like to keep the original vocal track that I did and recorded in case I need to go back and pull something from here and pull it back down here. So I think we're in a pretty good space. Now the next trick is adding fades. to the beginning of the track. Basically, a fade in is just going to make it sound a little bit more smoother. So I'm going to do it like this. We're going to click over here, and we're going to do like a 2 fade in and 2 fade out. So that creates like little fades. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little fade right there. Then there's a little fade right here. So it just make it sound a little bit more cleaner. It's all about clean files.
He sits high above the earth, exalted above all the nations. God who made heaven and earth.
So what I do a lot when I'm comping vocals is I'm going through and I'm constantly listening to everything to make sure everything still sounds good, to make sure I'm not missing anything, missing any clicks, any pops, any cracks, none of that. All right, so now I'm going to join this whole entire track together. I'm just going to merge it together. Don't have to do that, but it just makes things look a little bit more clean and more put together. Now, the vocal secret that I learned from my boy Yomi, shout out to Yomi, producer TMK on Instagram, I believe. He told me all about Melodyne and why it's so important to have. One of the things I like about Melodyne is it creates a super clean tuning effect without it sounding super auto-tuned. So you can kind of go through and just make your notes sound all good and clean without it having that auto-tune T-Pain effect. And of course, all of that stuff is adjustable, but Melodyne just works wonders with making sure your flat notes are there, and you can kind of go through and manually do that. So we're going to click transfer, and it's going to record the track. So we're going to let it record. It's going to transfer everything on here. All right, cool. So it transfers all of my notes on here like a grid, and I'm just going to go through and fix all of the flat and shaky notes that don't sound good. So on my vocals, I'm going to do a little bit more correction than I typically would on an actual singer's vocal, because I feel like, my vocals ain't quite where they need to be at, but I need to sound good,
He sits high above the earth.
High.
He sits high above.
So something weird happening there. Looks like that note is descending, and it shouldn't be. I feel like that should be right.
He sits high up.
Yep. Split the note, put it back where it needs to be at.
He sits high above the earth.
If y'all want a deeper tutorial on Melodyne, let me know in the comments, and I'll go over that. But yeah.
He sits high above the earth, exalted above all the nations. God who made. God.
All right, we're going to put that like right in the middle.
God who made. God who made. God who made.
Let's put that back to the original because I feel like that was more. All right, so we got the Melodyne going. So I'm going to bounce this in place. And yeah, we're just going to bounce that in place for right now. Again, we're going to keep the original. Now we're going to throw on some tuning on there. So the process I like to use is Melodyne. Then I like to add some tuning feature on there of some sort, just as kind of like the icing on the cake, and kind of really make things sound super, super good. So we're going for clean and professional, but we're not going for auto-tune like T-Pain. We just want it to be clean, natural, and just sound good, And it really helps people such as myself that's not really singers for real. Like, I'm just getting by and using the tools that I got, So let's check this out.
He sits high above the earth, exalted above all the nations. God who made heaven and earth. There is no one like you.
Cool. So I'm cool with that right now. So essentially, I'm going to make another copy right here. I'm going to bounce this in place, and I'm going to name this lead box. And then we're going to say tuned. And that way we know that track is tuned. So hypothetically, you know, if I need to come back to one of these copies, I can do that. But we're just going to keep it there. Now we're going to go over to our stacks. I'm not going to spend too much time focusing on these stacks right here. I'm literally just going to take my tune in because this doesn't need to be perfect. And I'm going to, wait, where are we at? Oh, we're going to take it over here. And I'm just dragging it by holding Option and dragging it over. But I am going to do something special with these stacks. I'll show you in a minute. But we're just going to pan these a little bit.
God who made heaven and earth.
So that sounds real good right there.
Exalted above all the nations. God who made heaven and earth.
All right, so I'm going to do something. I'm going to use another vocal plugin to do this. First, I need to bounce this in place, though. And we're bouncing these in place because the next plugin that I'm going to use has to be number 1 on the list. So, stop, stack, tuned. All right, so I'm going to use this plugin. This plugin is made by Synchro Arts. It's called Vocal Align. If your vocals are slightly out of alignment, this plugin is going to align it with whatever you sidechain it with. So I'm going to sidechain it with my lead vocals, and that's going to be the guide, and then the dub is going to be what this stack 1 tuned is. So just check it out. I got to show you what it is.
God who made heaven and earth.
That joint just sounds good. So once we put start EQing and add all of that stuff on there, it's going to sound really, really good. Now I'm going to officially bounce these in place again. I know we've been doing a lot of bouncing in place, but it's for a good reason. So we're going to name this stack 1 tuned.
Exalted above all the nations. God who made heaven and earth. There is no one like you.
Yeah, that sounds really, really good. So we got that. So I'm going to make another copy. And I'm going to add my gospel lead vocal chain on here. If you don't have this product and you want access to this chain, you can click on my website and get access to this. So this is going to be the EFX with effects on it.
He sits high above the earth, exalted above all the nations.
Take out a little bit of low end.
He sits high above the earth, exalted above all the nations. God who made heaven and earth.
So let's listen to a before and after.
He sits high above the earth,
Super flat.
exalted above all the nations. God who made heaven and earth. He sits high above the earth, exalted above all the nations. God who made heaven and earth.
All right, that is how you tune vocals from start to finish. That's my whole process. Typically, it takes a little bit longer than that, but since I'm only doing like 1 verse and some stacks, it didn't take that long. But let's check out this sneak preview to my new song on my album that's set to release first half of the summertime, maybe in like June or something, top of the summer. But let's check it out. This is completely unmixed, not mastered, none of that. This is just straight raw file. So let's check it out.
He sits high above the earth, exalted above all the nations. God who made heaven and earth. There is no one like you. He sits high above the earth, exalted
above all the nations.
God who made
Heaven and earth.
there is no
One like
yeah.
So that is it right there. If you like content like this, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like down below. Press subscribe on this channel. Got more stuff like this on the way. But thank you guys. If you're still watching, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you. All right, we out.